Hi, this is Jim, and we're going to cut episode 3 of Jim's Kitchen. This one's going to be about breakfast, and it's going to be very much the usual American style breakfast that you would expect me to do: eggs, potatoes, bacon or sausage, etc. We're not going to put sausage gravy on it though. We're going to go with diced vegetables, take it a little bit Denver omelet direction. And you think, well, you already know how to do all this. Most of you probably do. For those of you who don't, stick with me. But we're going to do a little twist on it in that if you have to get up and go to work, but you have to get up earlier to get cleaned up and dressed to go to work, you don't want to have to sandwich in there also fixing breakfast and taking charge of your own diet every day you have to go to work. The twist is we're going to do it once a week. We're going to make it up in a big batch like this, and we're going to put it in serving size containers and pop it in the freezer. Every morning you just pop one in the microwave, a la the Jimmy Dean instant breakfasts that you can buy in the freezer aisle at your local supermarket. Only we're making these ourselves, so we get to cut out bad stuff and take charge of our diet. It's also a lot less expensive. What do you need? Well, I mentioned potatoes, so you already know we need a cutting board and a good kitchen knife. I mentioned eggs, and the only way to use those in a large batch breakfast is to scramble them. So you already know we need a decent mixing bowl and a whisk. You can use a wire whisk. I have one. I prefer a fork, and I'll show you why. You're going to need two cups, about 2 cups of shredded cheese. So you're going to need a measuring cup. You're going to need diced vegetables. You're going to use your cutting board and your knife, unless you buy them prepped at the deli in your supermarket, which that's okay. If you get the grocery stores, delis, diced vegetables, they're not heavily processed. They don't have a lot of preservatives put in them. That's going to be fine. And your last ingredient, let me see, cheese, vegetables, eggs, meat, potatoes, that's it, 5 ingredients. So you have the tools you need, and I've just told you the ingredients we need. 18 eggs, 2 cups of cheese, 4 to 6 decent sized potatoes, 2 to 3 pounds, 8 ounces ish of diced vegetables, so you're going to have more because you're going to remove the seeds from the peppers, etc. Yeah, that's the ingredients you need and the tools you need. So let's get to it. For the potatoes, please see Jim's Kitchen episode 3, Preparing Potatoes. That goes through all of it. I don't need to repeat it here. For the sausage, if you're going to use sausage, if you're going to buy store-made sausage, you can skip the first part. But if you're going to buy ground pork, ground turkey, ground some kind of meat and make your own sausage, I highly encourage you to do that. Go to Jim's Kitchen, how-to number 1, making sausage. Then go to Jim's Kitchen how-to number 2, browning meat. Take your sausage, brown it, take your whatever meat you're going to use, whether it's sausage or whatever. Again, like I said, for bacon, if you want to get it crispy, take the stove heat up to about half or 2/3 of your burner's capacity to get it crispy. Other than that, same procedure. We're just browning meat. We're not doing rare steaks or anything at this point yet. That gets us to the diced vegetables. I said you could get them from your deli, and I did. There's nothing wrong with that. Get a mix of peppers and onions and tomatoes, but I don't like onions. It's okay. There's not that many onions in it, and the mix of vegetables is good for you. I don't like green peppers either, but I eat them. Again, we're trying to take charge of our diet and take small steps, maybe things we don't like to do, to improve our health. And if you looked at me when we first started this video, Yeah, I need to improve my health, and that's a journey we're going to take together. 2 cups of shredded cheese is an easy thing. I don't buy the major market brand shredded cheese. I buy the grocery store brand. You can buy a block of cheese and use a grater. That's a fine solution. So that gets us down to the eggs. The only thing that I have to prep here in front of you is to break 18 eggs in my dish and swizzle them. And I'm going to do that in front of you just to show you how quick it can be. It does not take a long time. It is not heavily time demanding. Two of my eggs got pirated for some baking last night. My lovely wife baked. So I'm down to 14. We're going to get over it. I like a little baking every now and again anyway. We're well into the egg breaking cycle, and yes, I'm stalling. Now, using the fork instead of a whisk to beat the eggs. I'm going to hold the fork sideways in the bowl, over the rim, pointing at the bottom of the other side of the bowl. I'm going to draw it to me across the bottom of the bowl, come up, and go away from me across the top of the contents. Down, draw it to me, up, push it away. Because if you go straight up and down and you go in a circular motion around the bowl, the contents end up chasing you around the bowl. If you do what I just suggested, and I'm going to show you, when you bring the fork toward you across the bottom of the bowl, the contents that are chasing you run into the side of the bowl directly, and they can't keep coming. So then you come up and you go across the top of the bowl, and the contents following the fork rush across the top of the bowl into the side of the bowl and stop. The contents end up constantly changing direction and speed, and that is what breaks up the eggs and blends them well. It's a very easy trick, and I'm breaking the last egg now, so we're going to show you that as soon as I stand up and point the camera down. At my work surface. I like to lance all the eggs first. And then, just as I said, across the bottom, up across the top, and just faster and faster. And the contents can't chase you around the bowl this way, so they constantly rush back and forth from one side directly to the other, crashing into the walls, and presto! In moments, we have blended eggs. Now, give me just a moment to get set up, and we'll go to the stove. Okay, everybody, we're back. I have finished the potatoes and the sausage and mixed them in with the diced vegetables and the cheese in my mixing bowl. The only thing we have left is the eggs, and it couldn't be more straightforward. Put them in the same pan you did the potatoes in and the meat, and check your heat and make sure you're still at about 1/3 of your burner heat, because you may have turned it up to make crispy bacon. So make sure you turn the burner heat back down. And you're off to the races. And if it looks like a pan that's not being stirred or anything, it's pretty boring. Yeah, it's pretty boring. So we're going to cut the camera, and we'll be back in a few minutes when the eggs start to get solid, and I'll show you how to work the eggs. Okay, we're back. As promised, I'm going to show you how to work with eggs that have started to skin on the bottom of the skillet. I started dealing with them before you guys got here, but it's easy. You just cut them up in big chunks, not little chunks. Because if you cut them up in big chunks, then you get to turn them over in big chunks, and it's less work. After you turn them all over, then you're going to cut them up into smaller chunks and let them keep cooking. Notice that the uncooked part of the eggs sinks to the bottom of the skillet. You chop them up. And repeat until they're done. It's that simple. Once you get them done, you're going to put them in your mixing bowl on top of everything else. And we'll pick it up there. Okay, I've been back at the eggs a couple of times since we were last on the air. And I've got eggs that are pretty well cooked up. So we're going to turn them over one more time. You can see the evidence of me breaking them up here. But what you don't want to do is leave, well, maybe you like raw eggs. I don't want to leave raw eggs. So I'm making one last trip, make good and sure. You can see some softer portions as I go through and turn them. And I'm going to break them up. Going to turn off my heat. Going to bring my mixing bowl over. And then add my eggs to my mix. Now, once I get my eggs in here, I'm going to take a minute, clean up my stove, and prepare to package everything up. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, we're back as promised, and I have the meat added to, the eggs added to the mixing bowl, and everything's mixed up. And this isn't going to be anything wild or dramatic. It's just a straightforward straightforward scooping process. I recommend these. They're about 12-ounce containers, and it doesn't matter which manufacturer you go with. I've got a collection of them. We talked about that in a previous video. What you want to do is not overload your servings. I find the soup ladles really handy, because 2 of those makes a good fair size serving. Makes it easy to get your consistent serving size. And the work goes quickly. Alright, you get the idea. I'm not going to make you watch me scoop them all up. That's it for Jim's Kitchen Episode 3 Breakfast.